Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. This is the third part of a 5-part discussion all this week on men, masculinity, and the Catholic faith. While each Vortex episode is a standalone piece as far as it goes, we recommend watching all 5 to get a more complete picture. And now, as discussed yesterday, the masculine is a pattern of at first union with the feminine, then a separation from it, and then a reunification with the feminine, but in an entirely different mode than the original union. Author Richard Hawley, along with many others, has written extensively on the peril that young males face as they search for their manhood. In one of his books, Boys Will Be Men, Masculinity in Troubled Times, he makes the point quite succinctly, quote, "Masculinity is best understood as a journey or a quest. Males must go in search of who they are, of their masculinity. For the first 1,000 years and then some of the Catholic Church, this was easily accomplished. Men found themselves, discovered their masculinity in the church. From the preacher monks who braved the barbarian tribes in order to baptize them, to the Crusades, to clergy who gave up hearth and home to preserve and protect and copy the sacred scriptures, to religious orders which welcomed hardship for the sake of souls, authentic masculinity abounded. But as time went by, a cult of the feminine emerged in prayer and liturgy and meditation. A softer way of expressing and experiencing the faith began to seize hold, and the aggressive and combative aspects of masculinity began to be overrun. The notion of the church as the bride of Christ began to be misapplied to the individual instead of the church collectively. Up to this time, men related to our blessed Lord as Father, King, Patriarch, Lord. And while the idea of sacrificing even their lives for him out of love was embraced, it was viewed as a masculine love, like a soldier in combat who would take a bullet or a knife for his comrade. It's extremely difficult for the healthy male psyche to process a man's love for Christ as being the feminine bride of Christ. When men love in a way that arises out of a shared suffering and combat, the experience of having gone through the blood and muck of war together, this is how they love, as soldiers and comrades. This is where the bonds of love are found between men. When they have a stake in the game, themselves in the game, when all that is dear to them is on the line and their mates have ponied up all that they have as well, and then they fight for it. Their natural combativeness emerges. They fight for truth and the right, for honor and justice. This is where men relate to each other, and it is from here where they discover masculinity and are then able to behold the face of God. But without the elements of fight, combat, sacrifice, and the conquest present explicitly in the faith, with that lacking, men intuitively disincline toward religion. If men are presented religious faith as just a community of the feminine, they will find nothing attractive about it. This is why so many Protestant denominations, along with the one true church established by Jesus Christ, the Holy Catholic Church, have so much trouble attracting men these days. And when they do launch some campaign that initially appeals to men, that appeal is short-lived when men soon realize that the church they have been welcomed into or have come back to is largely feminine in its approach, with the stress placed on inclusiveness, non-judgmentalism, toleration, sensitivity. When these qualities are as disproportionate in the church as they are today, to the almost utter exclusion of needed division, clarity, reason, sacrifice, then there is simply no appeal to men other than largely effeminate men who, for whatever reason, identify with these more feminine qualities than masculine ones. And to be certain, there are many women in the church today who long desperately for a more masculine, muscular faith. They see their sons swept away, their husbands rolled over by a world of aggressive secularism that takes no prisoners and leaves their men ill-equipped to protect both soul and body. Because men have virtually no channel for their masculinity in the faith, they explore other ways to be men, and they take their natural gifts of combativeness and strength and desire for conquest and turn them toward gangs and violence and pornography and lust for power and sex and domination. They feed their innate desire for masculinity with poison, and they become sick and die, leaving much carnage in their wake. Jesus Christ was the perfect man. It is from him that all men must incline and begin to understand what masculinity is and what higher purpose it serves. Until the church returns to this ancient model of manhood, of masculinity, until it throws off the conventions of political correctness and mealy-mouthed, wishy-wash, non-offense-giving lukewarmness, it will continue to hemorrhage men, struggle for vocations from masculine men, be unable to produce authentic fathers and husbands, with all the consequent evils that follow. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.